Brand new this year, media literacy and studio productions is a cross-disciplinary adventure that covers many aspects of broadcast journalism, audio and visual production, editing, and publication. The Panther Report, MVHS's weekly news segment, is the result of this new collaborative class. The Panther Report crew have been tasked with creating the following documentary to detail to you, from the students' perspectives, how important the renovations are for Madomic Valley High School, and why this school is worth the investment.
What do you want the community to know about our school?
Our building is old. It's old and we don't have water.
This is our school and no one wants to ride a bus to another. Support this school if you want your kids to be successful.
That we need help. These problems are affecting students' learning.
Our school gets a bad reputation for our constant fights and our freshman behavior, but we're a great school and I truly believe that.
Madomic Valley High School is falling apart. First, there is asbestos in our school, and overexposure to it can be harmful. Secondly, the school isn't perfect. It in fact doesn't follow the ADA compliance regulations.
It's a good place with good people, but the locker room ceiling is falling in and doors and locks are missing from the bathrooms, and the place is rarely cleaned or sanitized. We need more faculty staff.
How everyone's there for each other, people help each other when needed, and how we make everyone feel included.
It needs to be renovated now because it is quite literally falling apart. We also need to pay attention to our sporting faculties because they are also in really rough condition.
It's revolving renovation loan, and everyone needs to understand that not only do we only pay back 42% of it at 0% interest, it also falls exactly when the middle school bond comes off. So it's not going to increase taxes in terms of the overall tax picture. We recognize that we're chasing the building down the drain instead of supporting it to move it forward. I think that this is a really good medium ground for you guys to get the building up and running and get it stabilized so that you can then maintain it. And then some of the money that's currently going to the high school will be able to go to Miller. He moved up 2 spots on the list for the state. So we're 52nd to get a new high school. We are not getting a new high school with state aid for at least 25 years. I can assure you of that. I just want to impress upon people that there's no white knight coming. We have to figure this out together, whatever that is. Right? Because it's better to know the playing field, that there isn't hope for the state to swoop in and fix this, that if you do a little bit, it can go a long way. The problem is that right now, the district is just chasing the building with problems. If we do the bond, then it moves forward. Here's what I've told people at the select boards. We're not telling people how to vote. We're asking you to ask questions. We're asking you to ask us what you want to know about this, because if we don't have genuine support from the community, we're not going to make it.
Back in 2023, voters in the RSU 40 community voted against a bond issue that had a total cost of $81 million. It was stated back then that the true needs of MVHS needed to be addressed before funding would be considered. Well, we listened. In the bond initiative being presented addresses the fundamental renovations needed to bring our school into the modern age and beyond. Madomic Valley High School, built in 1968, has seen the graduation of over 50 years of students, many of whom have raised their families in this district. Generations have seen the school overcome many challenges, and today's students have more challenges than ever. Throughout these generations of students, society has evolved, but Madomic has stayed in the past. It's hard for students to thrive in this world when their environment is not up to date. The needed renovations detailed in this bond cannot be the hill MVHS dies on. This school is a staple in the community. Between sports, academic achievements, and the bonds of friendship forged within these walls, Madomic Valley High School is more than just a building, more than just a school, and we need your help to save it. So now is the time to prove the unity that we have and join together. Recently, a survey was conducted that asked students why MVHS is important to them and how these needed renovations will improve their educational experience. The survey ranged from students expressing concerns of safety to the water system not working. We also had our team at the Panther Report conduct their own investigations by capturing videos and photos of the school. Our team captured various problems around the school that are in the bond. Not only did we talk to students and do our research, we had a Q&A with our facilities director, Brian Rice, and architect, Ann Ketterer. They went into greater detail regarding the plans within the bond, from clarifying questions about the budget to explaining why we are replacing so many parts of the school. We have done our very best to break down the needed renovations so that we can present them in a light that is not only necessary, but urgent. Coming up first, we are going to talk about the financial situation. Some people might be wondering where the money is going and how much is being asked. We also have an actual bond breakdown where you'll be able to see a visual of the bond. We have more information on that right now.
My name is Ann Ketterer. I'm an architect, and I'm the owner and founder of Novo Studio.
And I'm Brian Rice. I'm the Facilities and Transportation Director for RSU 40.
Is everything in the renovation plan necessary, or is there room to cut down?
It's all necessary. The design process is an iteration, and we worked very closely with EEI to build that number, that GMP of $24.9 million. We could have easily made it more money, but the premise of the project is based on 3 project goals. The first of which is health and safety. The second is 21st century learning. And the last, and perhaps the most important, is fiscal responsibility. So the scope of the project was developed with those goals in mind. There are many ways in which we could spend more money on this project and give you great things for your education, but what $24.9 million gets you is what you need and what this building needs.
Can you explain the two-part $2 million loan and the bond more clearly?
You want to take that, Brad?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're talking about the revolving renovation loan. So we have a revolving renovation loan, and then we have the capital improvement bond. So the revolving renovation loan is a Maine Department of Education. It's a pot of money that each year varies in size. Anywhere from a few years ago, it was a couple of million. This time around, I think it was about 20 million. In that, you can apply for monies, of which we were approved for 3 projects. One is ventilation at Union Elementary School, and then here would be hazardous material remediation, specifically asbestos tile, and then also water quality, and that we're going to be working on as well. And that's, as you all know, you're drinking bottled water right now. We do have a water treatment system, but we are going to be adding arsenic to it, and we also need to improve some of the piping, the water lines and sewer lines as well. To get back to the revolving renovation loan itself, so it's a 0% interest loan, and you pay back, and there's a formula. We would be responsible for paying back about 42%, or about $1.6 million of that. We have a couple of debts that are to be coming off the books from previous capital improvements jobs that we had done throughout the district that would actually cover those yearly paybacks. So it would be neutral to the budget to approve those. And so we're looking forward, and hopefully the voters will approve us for that.
I'm going to add to that. So architecture and design, what my profession, what we really do is we solve a problem. So here at the high school, you can't solve a problem until you can define the problem. So the work that I've been doing for almost a year now with the district at the high school is, number one, defining the problem. And to do that, you do an existing conditions analysis and a space plan summary. And in the existing conditions analysis, it became quite clear that you have a lot of asbestos tile that has hazardous materials that needs to be remediated, meaning it needs to be removed. And then as we walked around the building, we identified many other concerns, such as handicap accessibility, or the lack of components involved in handicap accessibility, and perhaps most importantly, the issue with the water, which Brian just talked about. In doing that work and defining that problem, we created an existing conditions report. The report that my partner and I and my firm created was then used as part of the grant application for which we were awarded the sums of money, which amounts to just about $2 million.
I think once people hear the number, a lot of people get sort of a fixed mindset about it, and they don't, look at the whole picture. What would you say to them about how important this is for guiding our youth and us growing as a community? Because if we don't take care of this now, it's potentially going to jeopardize the success of our youth in the further years. If we had to commute to different schools or, take on the load of so many of these other things. Why is it so important now?
Well, it's important now because these systems are at end of life, and you just simply cannot keep a building open if you can't ventilate it properly, heat it properly, and provide water. I believe school was shut down somewhat recently because of this. Brian, is that true?
On the water.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in order to have a functioning school, you must have a functioning building. Down the line, years from now, if systems continue to fail and the school cannot remain open, then you will lose your high school. I am not able to give you a date on that. I just know that it's happened, I believe, in Thomaston in the not too distant past. And certainly, if the community continues to neglect the building, that's a possibility. What I'd love to see happen is for the community to realize that a building of this nature is a wonderful investment, not just in our present, but also in our future. A high school in particular is a place where the entire community, in one way or another, actually interacts with. Schools are where we drop off our children. Schools are where many adults go to work every day. Schools are where sometimes people go to vote, depending on your community. So many grandparents, parents, family members come to basketball games. I hear your school plays actually sell out on opening night. That's incredible. So I think the community loves this building. I think the community is invested in all of you and wants to see you succeed. And my understanding is it's not about whether or not the community wants to invest. They want to make sure they're investing wisely. And one of the things this project does really well is it adheres to the project goals of health and safety, educational spaces, and fiscal responsibility. I think that this is the right balance of what you need with what is realistic to afford, so we're not bankrupting your friends and neighbors.
There are many things in the school that are not up to code. In following our research, the thing we noticed the most was every room had electrical problems. Every time our crew went into an area to document something, electrical problems were present. There are concerns with the tiles having asbestos and being peeled up in the hallways. The HVAC is for the most part completely original to the building, and it's hard to keep classrooms warm with such old technology. The water is a huge problem, being unable to keep up with usage, and right now, it is undrinkable. There are no sprinklers in the school to stop a fire, nor any firewalls to prevent fire spreading. There are concerns regarding ADA, security, and student services. The front of the school is going to be reconstructed. These things will be addressed by this one act. Space for a wheelchair would be made, extra cameras would be installed, and students would be able to access administrators easier.
See how the lights are shared between his room and
Yeah. One of the major problems is the heating and ventilation systems here. They're very loud, so it makes it hard for students to hear when the teachers are giving directions. Another problem that we have is the circuit breakers. So when you plug in multiple things, it stops them from working. So like if someone plugs in a hairdryer here, it doesn't work because the circuit breaker doesn't work. Another example of this is the wheels will stop working. So if someone is using something over here, those wheels will stop turning.
So there are two classes. There's this one and that one over there. And when there's both going on at the same time, there's a lot of noise from the other side and a lot of noise from this side at the same time because there's no wall. Disrupts class a lot of the time because you can't hear and you're getting the lesson from over here while you're trying to get the lesson from over there.
And you hear a lot of like the blow dryers and other noises, and it's just a lot of background noise that makes it hard for us to hear directions from the teachers.
Hi, I'm Brooke Holland. I teach photography and film here at Madomic Valley High School. This is my classroom. One of the things that I wanted to point out is that my room used to be part of the shop, wood shop, and the room got chopped in half, but we still have the old heaters. So here's one of them up here. This is how I've treated my room. I finally got it honed in. I will run the heater when there isn't any students in here, and I'll run it at night. And then I will turn it off during the day because they can't hear me and I can't hear them when I'm teaching. And I run 2 additional space heaters during the day. This is one of the space heaters I use during the day. This is the thermostat. I keep the thermostat going again at night. I'm turning it off now. It will probably go off in about 2 minutes. I'll walk you over to the other space heater that I run. This is another space heater that I run just to keep the room a little bit warmer during the day, but not having the loudness of the fan going. This is what the room sounds like without the overhead going on. I can hear people, they can hear me. It obviously makes it much more conducive to teaching.
About a month ago, there was a furnace issue, I believe, in the boiler room, something like it was smoking. Are we getting renovations to that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so to answer your question, so just to be clear, there's a vent, boilers need ventilation, and that vent had closed up a little bit, and basically it just wasn't burning clean, the oil wasn't burning clean, that's what created the smoke. So you're gonna start seeing the ground right out here right out behind us on the other side of the modular classroom, right outside this. Pretty soon you're going to see excavators in there starting to dig a hole, and you're going to see a big building, 120 feet long by 80 feet wide, and that's going to be the home of the new biomass boiler that'll be heating Madomic Valley High School and also Madomic Middle School.
Here at MVHS, our hallways are filled with asbestos tiles, and in some places they're either torn up or replaced, like right here.
Madomic Valley High School is falling apart. First, there is asbestos inside our school, and the overexposure to it can be harmful. Secondly, the school isn't perfect. In fact, it doesn't follow ADA compliance regulations.
Oh.
We're kind of all wondering how you both think ongoing construction will impact student learning throughout those 3 years.
So I learned a new term that I had never heard before from Ann called the summer slams. And so what happens is once school is out, we move everybody in and we start and we get after it. And then we put everything back the way it was just in time for you all to come back into the school.
It's primarily an interior renovation. We're not really touching the outside. And so we can't do that work with you in class.
You can't tear the tiles off.
We cannot. So we'll have 3 summer slammers in order to get this done.
If the taxpayers approve us, we'll be doing the asbestos remediation this summer. And basically, your last day, I want to say, is the 17th. Does that sound about right? 18th, something like that? The 19th is a Friday. Probably that next Monday, we're going to be moving in a lot of workers that'll start moving furniture and getting ready to start removing the asbestos
Mobilized
tile.
to tear up all the floors.
Absolutely.
That's great to hear.
And it'll be the carry on in future summers as well. Next couple summers will be the same way. As soon as school is out, we'll be right after it. I mean, there will be some things that we will try to get done. We'll do some prep work like we're doing this year. Right. While you all are in school in the month of June, we're going to be emptying the current boiler room so that as soon as school is out, we can get right in and get the water treatment system taken care of, and then continue on simultaneously with the asbestos. And so that's what we're hoping for.
Good morning, this is Dr. Ambrose. I'm calling to let you know that there will be no school at Madomic Valley High School today, Friday, January 16th, 2026, due to an issue with the water system. Thank you very much and have a great day.
The water is one of the biggest issues here. Some students mess with the sinks and toilets, but sometimes it's not them. Sometimes the toilets don't flush and the sinks don't turn on. We are facing a huge issue with no drinkable water from the fountains. We are stuck drinking from small water bottles. It is tiring when a student doesn't want a small bottle of warm water and they have to bring multiple metal and reusable bottles to school.
Everywhere the water pressure is low, and even if the water was drinkable, the water pressure wouldn't work with how many toilets are.
All right, so here's our big old stack of gallon jugs of water.
since whenever we weren't allowed to use water, we can't even use boiled water, so everything has to be from gallon jugs.
So we ran a Google form recently, and we asked the students what the problems were with the school and what they like about it and what they don't like about it. And a lot of what they liked was the staff, the community, the people around it, the principal, the administration. There was a lot of very good feedback. And the most commonly stated problem was the water, 100%. And I was wondering if we're looking at a date where we're going to get that back up, and I'm assuming next year.
So the water treatment system will be upgraded this summer.
Here at MVHS, we have a severe security issue. Right here at our main entrance, we have no cameras. Let's hear what Mrs. Nelson has to say.
Hi. So we do have a camera that I can see when someone pushes the doorbell, but there are no cameras in the main, the entrance part, and it's very hard to see, the person coming in and if they are holding anything or so. There isn't an area where people can come in, we can greet them, see why they're here. I have to let them in and then they're in the school and then I have no control over them. So that to me is the biggest issue.
I'm at the MVHS lobby here at the main entrance, and there are no cameras. There's really no way for the office ladies to be able to see inside the lobby to make sure there's no intruders in here. You also notice some tile and the ceiling is displaced. We just noticed that.
Security. So this is an image, it's intentionally vague. This is an image of a new entry canopy at your front door. Your front door, if you're a visitor approaching this building, it doesn't really look like a front door. You're not entirely sure where to go. So what this will do is it will create wayfinding just by simply adding a canopy. One of the things that we're doing is we're taking all of the sort of public-facing programming and moving them to the front of the building. So the nurse's office and the counseling suite and the administrative area will all be at the front of the building. So this, if you're concerned about covering up the window, it's because I put the nurse's office there. All of this, by the way, this is conceptual design. So it's the beginning of the work, it's not the end. So the plans that I show you are not by any means set in stone. The reason that school entry started getting redesigned is obviously the school shooter circumstances in this country. We want a way to stop them so that they can't just run the road, running around the hallway. And so this is the way it's done. It keeps track of people. It prevents unwanted visitors.
Here is the areas in the building that are not in compliance with the ADA.
My name is Layla Carter. I'm a senior at MVHS.
In this upcoming bond, the district is looking to address areas where MVHS is not up to code. Have you experienced any problems with the school's facilities?
I have experienced a problem with the school's facilities. I ran into the ADA issue. I was in a wheelchair for 4 months due to an ACL and meniscus tear, and I found that being in the wheelchair, going through the doorways in the school was a big issue. It wasn't big enough, or the corners were too tight, and it just was an issue. It affected my learning because it made it difficult to get into my classes on time, and I would hit my leg and it would make the injury worse.
Oh, wow.
If someone was trying to get into the guidance office with a wheelchair, this is the route they would have to take. Then, even if you got through, you'd have to get by this printer and this really small door to finally get into the office.
I was in a wheelchair for 2 weeks, and the ramp by room 55 and 56 was almost a 3-person job to get me in and out. That absolutely needs to be fixed.
Now, there are some things that are included in this plan that would improve the learning environment for the students. These are things that are within code but could be improved on, such as the bathrooms, locker rooms, and science labs. These things will just be simply improved, renovated, and made better for the students.
The school's bathrooms are atrocious. The stalls themselves are outdated with big gaps that give zero privacy. Secondly, there's almost always water everywhere on the floor, in the sink, and don't even get me started on the paper towels students leave.
Also, like the school to find a better way to fix the problems with the students in the bathroom, because keeping most of them closed isn't effective.
Are there things that you could take out of this project? And I said, well, we've already taken them out. I'll give you an example. We're calling to renovate 3 of your existing gang bathrooms, 1 in each elbow of the academic arms, and then 1 by the library. Those are the most problematic. No offense to any of the perfect students in this room, but there are incidents of bad behavior and vandalism, as well as incidents of plumbing and finishes being out of date, dysfunctional, and handicap accessible being non-existent. And so what we're doing is we're renovating those in a massive way, changing them to single-user restrooms. And just by virtue of doing that, we're creating a place that is more private for the students, but also simultaneously provides more supervision to try and stop some of that vandalism. Now, there are other gang bathrooms in the building that the school board asked, why aren't you renovating those? And I said, it's too expensive and it's not needed. We don't need single-user restrooms at the bathrooms by the event space. We just need them for the students. And so when we ask ourselves, should this design be in the scope of work, we then convey it back to the project scope and ask ourselves, if it meets the goals, then it can be in the scope. If it doesn't meet the goals, then we remove it.
Here's what students have to say about the locker rooms.
In the boys' locker room, the ceiling is falling down, and I think maybe lights too.
Locker rooms and bathrooms need the water to be working, the showers in the locker rooms to work, and a nice space for all sports teams to be able to do their best in games.
The ceilings are very damaged due to water and students making poor choices.
From my experience, we hosted regionals this year for wrestling,
Yes.
and it was awesome, like it being at home. But like our locker rooms are embarrassing, with the tiles ripped out of the ceiling, and the stuff other schools said it's not good, and it definitely doesn't make you feel good as a student. So I was kind of curious about the exactly what the renovations might look like in the locker room.
So, you should have seen the design I did originally. It would have been so nice. I redesigned your locker rooms. They were great. So we are going to redesign them. My initial design moved all the plumbing, and it approached the locker rooms like a clean slate. Mm-hmm. The reality is we need to be more precise about that renovation and that design. So I'm going to attack it from a different angle. And redesign it in a way that will be less costly, but achieve the same ends. So it may not be as perfect and wonderful as my original design, but it will be updated. So you're going to get new ceilings, you're going to get new flooring finish, you're going to get new ventilation, which you desperately need. You'll get new plumbing fixtures that will include handicap accessible fixtures. You will get fewer showers, because you don't need them, and possibly fewer lockers.
We had the opportunity to walk around with our athletic director, Mr. Lash, where he pointed out things that need to be addressed and the biggest issues that he has with our athletic facilities. Among the things he pointed out were locker rooms, storage, the training room, and offices. Overall, Mr. Lash wanted better use of space, more storage, and to reinvent locker rooms. In the JV locker rooms, there are too many unused showers, including gang showers and individual showers. The individual showers are now used for storage due to the lack of room for storage in the athletic facilities. The varsity locker rooms are unused due to being too small. Because of this, they are used for storage. The heater in the varsity locker room is also very loud. We do not have enough storage space. Because of this, we compensate by storing things in locker room showers and unused locker rooms. Due to the size of the room that the cheering mats are stored in, you can only access items that are in the very front of that storage room. Our training room is also too small, and there are various damages in the ceilings, like most other rooms. We also had the opportunity to talk with gym teachers Mr. DePompo and Mr. Rice. They stated issues such as the weight room floors and having to store athletic equipment in offices.
We're definitely going to need the students' help.
Right.
And unfortunately, by the time that this project is done, probably everybody here in this room will have graduated and gone on to start your careers wherever that may be. So, for instance, the JV boys' locker room. Most everybody's been in there.
Yeah.
So I renovated that about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a fancy renovation, but we replaced all the floor tile, fixed the floor tile, all the top stuff. We did a bunch of work, and you go in there now, and it looks like nothing was ever done.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
we definitely need, I mean, the students are going to have to take some ownership, and they're going to have to, you know.
Right.
And I realize that if
Yeah.
it looks good,
Yes.
it's a lot easier to be proud of it, and it's a lot easier to take care of.
In the science wing, the first problem begins with sinks having the same handles as propane, water faucets that leak water out to the top onto the table, faucets missing handles, making the sinks unusable, and sinks not built right and move freely, sinks that don't drain properly, and no outlets on the outsides of the rooms.
Yeah, the vast majority of the things that you see in this school are the same things that people in 1968, when they were going to school, were dealing with, like the science labs. Yeah, those science labs. You'd be amazed at how many people that we have been in here doing tours say these things haven't changed a bit since we were in school.
If the figure mentioned on the document is a rough estimate, or have companies already bid on the contract?
He's referring to the $24.9 million.
Is that correct? Yes. So we've had a number of companies that have been involved in coming up with that number. Engineering firms, various engineering firms, architectural firms, plumbers, electricians, you name it. And this actually goes back to before I arrived in 2020. They had had an evaluation of the entire building envelope and all the equipment in it from Siemens Corporation, and then we have built on that over the last 6 years to come to what it is today and what with the scope of the work that we're looking to have accomplished.
What's important to know about that number is it is what is called a guaranteed maximum price, GMP. You're going to hear me say that a lot. What that means is, according to the scope that I developed with my team during conceptual design, that price was developed as a reaction to that scope, and the cost of this project will not exceed that number. It is a guaranteed maximum price, total project cost.
That's very nice to know.
And that's over the course of the next anticipated 3 summers of construction. So that takes into account escalation for materials and labor, et cetera.
What will happen to our school if this doesn't get passed and we don't get the renovations that we need?
There's no question that this is urgent, critically urgent. What happens if it doesn't work out? So you've probably heard people comment about the fact that eventually we would deteriorate to the point of potentially having to close. Personally, I think that we're a little ways away from that. We would continue to work away at trying to make improvements, and we would pick away at it, but we'd never get there because things would be breaking faster than we can actually fix them. And so we'd be constantly be in reactive mode versus being proactive like we are now, so we can actually get out in front of things and we can have sufficient electrical outlets so we're not daisy chaining, and we have water that runs and we have no problem with that. We have classrooms that are appropriately sized and are equipped appropriately for the student body that is using them. And so it is critical. We have sewer lines that are working properly. We have water lines that are working properly, that we're meeting the Americans with Disabilities Act requirements, which we are definitely very short on those. And so we would certainly come under more and more scrutiny each year that this goes without being addressed.
I would say that doing nothing is not an option. And one of the things that is important to make note of is that this renovation and the work associated with modifying the high school will save the district money as it relates to maintenance. Brian, how often do plumbers have to come to the building to address the plumbing concerns and the backup issues?
At least weekly. We have plumbers in here dealing with a combination of vandalism and just end-of-life things. We have a long list of potentially that they're going to be addressing this summer. And it's an ongoing thing. And it's not just that, but it's HVAC technicians in here looking at things. It's electricians in here looking at things. So it's an ongoing turnstile of vendors who are coming in that are working on the school to try to keep it up and operate.
The space that you learn in is a tool for your learning. It's a tool for your teachers to be able to teach you according to their curriculum, and for, of course, you to learn. And if the space is inadequate, that has a deep and profound effect on your learning. And the NEASC process recognizes that. So many of the changes that we're proposing in our design solution are reacting to the problem that NEASC has identified and is holding up the accreditation. You could say that the school is in detention or suspension and probation.
I look at this school and picture a story. The 4 years I've been here, I've been honored to be a part of this story. A wonderful, complex novel of overcoming fear, resilience, learning, and relationships. Every year a new chapter is written, and we unveil more of the story. The voters decide the ending of this story. If this bond is not passed, Madomic's book will soon come to a close. Students will miss the opportunity to learn here, build lives together, and be a part of this story. So we are left with one question. Are we ready for the story to end?